John.
Angie.
Hello, my friend. So I had this thought. I was really thinking about like how I'm so, energetic, and sometimes in the morning I'm too energetic. I it kind of led me to thinking about, how do we show up as coaches with our energy? Are we consistent? Are we affected by the weather? How is that? How do we create consistency within our sessions?
Yeah, gosh, do we show up as the same person with every client? It's a thing I often thought about with when you see more people who are on the platform as coaches and speakers. Like, are they the same person off the stage as they are there, or are they bringing the same energy to every event? I think we all have to ask ourselves these questions. And this is a great topic to have, because who hasn't been in that situation where you look at your calendar and you've got a call with that client? Welcome to the Coaching Clinic with John and Angie.
The show for professional coaches who want to develop their skills and grow their business.
Follow the show on your favorite podcast app.
And join us every Wednesday for new episodes. I'm interested. I'd like to hear more about that.
Yeah, I think that's probably one of those situations for maybe where we don't have full control over our client list, but it can happen. Even when you do, there are people who are going to slip through the net who perhaps aren't the people you would most love working with, or difficulties start to arise a bit later on in the relationship that just end up with you not looking forward to the next call with them. That doesn't mean you won't still do a great job or you won't want to coach them, but could you honestly truly say that you would bring the same energy to that kind of call as you would to a client who you absolutely look forward to working
What's so funny? It's like you're saying that, and I'm going. I'm looking at we've talked about like rosters, and I think when you have like one or two clients, it might appear like, oh, well, that's just more manageable, and maybe to some degree for us as coaches, energetically, if you have 2 calls a week instead of like 30 calls a week, right? There's definitely ways to prepare differently. You have to structure things differently. And you do have to be cognizant. Am I giving this is something I've always said. Am I giving the same energy to, like, let's say client number 5 in the day as I did to client number 1? So that's like one vertical of this for me. But you said
with?
something and I was like, "Oh my god, do we ever even talk about that as coaches, like, that client?" And I don't know, I think everybody understands what that means. I don't If you don't, give us a call, we can explain it better. But just like, what makes us, when we look at it, we go, "Yay, yay, yay." Uh-oh, right? As we're looking at the roster for the day, even if, again, 1 or 2, it doesn't matter how many, as much as it's, why do we have that reaction when we're supposed to be objective? Are you able to even bring the same energy to somebody that, I don't even know, like, for you? I'm just so curious, right? Because I think coach work in general, right, by default, inherently, is challenging. So when you said that client, like, what kind of came to mind for you? 'Cause I'm not saying.
Sure, sure. Look, it could be it could be a few different things, really. But really, you know the session isn't going to go maybe as smoothly as you hope it would, or that the client sometimes has perhaps disrupted a session or has brought in some energy, or maybe like we were talking recently about people who overtalk. Maybe it's that client that you don't look forward to you having to try and rein them in, or the client who just ask questions all the time, and maybe too many questions, and it stops you from just getting on with stuff, or the client who is very fickle about how they like things to be done, or they show up with low energy, or they show up with too much energy. I mean, it could be any number of things, but it's just things that have the potential to make the session not as good as it potentially could be. And that's really what I mean by that client. That client who, you have your clients who are easy to work with. You have your clients who are fun to work with. And then there's usually at least one somewhere along the way who isn't so much fun to work with, who
Mhm.
the rapport just isn't as strong with. But you can still work with them, you can still get results with them, but you know that you look forward to the calls with those easy clients who you have that more natural rapport and connection with way more.
So wait, and here's the thing, right? I agree. I agree with everything you're saying, right? There are just people that we feel more naturally connected to. And we do, as coaches, we do connect with our clients, we build rapport. But here's the thing, I think this is what it all of that has translated back into, it's kind of regurgitated a little bit. Because is it really, though, the client that you, I, whomever, as the coach, you feel more challenged in those sessions, right? In the navigation, right? Anybody can show up as anything. I think it becomes, you know, that feeling of, oh, that client and, whomever that may be, because we as coaches feel that challenge. Like, how do I this is deeper work, tougher navigation, energetically doom and gloom. It's our issue. It's not their issue. It's our issue. It's our challenge and saying like, well, how can I elevate like or navigate this better so that I don't feel that feeling of like that client. I mean, I feel like I'm gonna get a t-shirt. Are you that client?
That client, yeah.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's really about us and less about them because they're paying us to maybe that's part of their issue. Maybe who knows, right? Whatever their challenges may be. But, are we restrictive mentally and emotionally because we have a harder time just navigating that?
Here's a few important takes on this, I think, just from years of coaching experience, I guess. But I don't even know if we should turn up the same on every single session. I think we
Mm.
still want to turn up with the intention to deliver our best, but some sessions require a slightly different energy. Some clients require us to adapt a little in how we show up. So I don't think we should always necessarily show up with exactly the same energy on the calls. We need to be somewhat adaptive to the people that we're talking to, but only to a point. But the thing becomes, well, where at what point does it potentially start to affect your delivery of the work that you do together? And that point to me, I think, is when you can no longer see the greatest potential in that client because your view is getting clouded or crowded by other elements of how they're showing up that are perhaps making you not even like them all that much or really want to see the best for them because they're pushing your buttons or triggering you. And so I think
Mm.
if you can't step out of that and have the best positive intention and vision for your clients, that is a time to question yourself as to you maybe shouldn't be working with them.
I do think that we've talked about this a little bit in the past, and we should probably get deeper into it because, you know, there's been many clients that I've wanted to fire, and that I think is a separate call. But to your point, I want to backtrack like 5 steps, right? Maybe we shouldn't show up, exactly the same. I think I initially show up to a call every single time the same good morning, good afternoon, my initial energy. But here's the thing I think a lot of people go, oh, I really love that you met me where I was. Yes, initially, I have to get on that call, be who I am, and then gauge you, right? Are you still being difficult? Are you being difficult and that's not the norm for you? Whatever that is, I don't think it's meeting people where they are. I think it's understanding where people are. And then you, as the coach, have to transition back into, you've heard me use this phrase, the pace car. You are still in charge, the authority, if you will, the leader of the session. You have to still be that. So I think there's two different, a couple of different things going on there, right? You're right, the sessions can't be the same, but I don't know if I firmly believe in absolutely meeting people where they are and staying there. I still think we have to transition, and that's the hard part sometimes. Like, have you ever had a client, and I don't mean challenge you, like they couldn't find the answer and you had to keep digging in curiosity. I mean, have you ever had a client challenge you, like, like all of a sudden they wanted to show up as the like authority in the session, or they know better than you, and they're challenging you in a disruptive kind of a way, not with curiosity. Have you had that happen?
Yes, oh, undoubtedly. And that's usually been in earlier stages of the coaching relationship.
Mm,
It's not
mm,
something I could say I've encountered deeper into a coaching
yeah,
relationship with
yeah.
somebody. But that tends to be more of a power play issue. I always step back a little in those situations because I want to see how it plays out and not be too attached to it going one way or the other. I like to let go of my attachment to being right in this and just saying, what's
Sure.
really going on here? What's
Yes.
happening in this situation? And when I do that, I do tend to find that when I'm a little bit detached from that and watching it more as there as an observer and
Correct.
as
Yes. Yes.
and as a participant. So I'm wearing
Yeah.
both hats pretty much at the same time. But that actually puts me in a power situation on those calls, and that does give me the opportunity then to say, all right, well, I'm not sure if any of this is meant to attack me personally or not. And I might even say that on a call is like, what
Sure.
is in the guise of, all right, what's the intention here? Like, what are you trying to establish? Or how do you want this coaching relationship to be?
Sure.
Because that's what we really need to get to. And in earlier stages, we need to make sure we can actually work together.
Yes.
But
I think though too, your point is like sometimes we have to, you know, in the idea or in the vein of meeting people where they are or understanding where they are. Somebody might, like, just say, for example, maybe they had a death in the family, right? And that's affecting their energy. And we don't know. Maybe they haven't disclosed that something happened. They're just trying to show up as their best selves. They want to still do a session and it's not working, right? I think as coaches, we need to be able to identify there's something going on. And I think the pause, right? And you just hit on it, right? Simply just slowing it down and saying, hey, John, what's going on today? What do you need most from me today or from this session? I'm detecting, and this is an observation, not a judgment, X, Y, and Z, because again, I think it takes them out of like whatever space they're in and refocuses them to, or pivots them to not progress in terms of, I'm using the wrong word, I think, but looking forward, not focusing on wherever they're sitting, transitioning them a little bit out of wherever they are so that they do want to maybe share it or give you some inclination as to what's going on. But I think that's our power in that moment is you want to meet somebody where they are, ask them, what's going on? Right?
100%. But I can also say I've had sessions where there clearly is something going on, and this may be a more particularly British thing with clients, although I've had it with British and Australian clients. But they just will not. They just will not go there, and you'll have to go through the whole session like that. Not that, and there's nothing you can do. Just get to the end of the session. Some sessions are going to go like that.
Yeah.
Not every session you ever do with a client is going to be a rip roaring success, I'm afraid. And sometimes it's on you, but sometimes it's not. But it isn't just a one-way street coaching. But I do think a big part of our role there is to hold up a mirror to people
That's
and so
important.
what's
Yes.
going on in your life? And I love the sort of tactical empathy stuff that you get from people like Chris Voss teaches it in Never Split the Difference, but I've seen it come up in other places with other names as well. But this is like labeling the emotions. Like it seems like you're feeling like this today. So you're not accusing them. It's like
Right.
this is how you're coming across to me.
Hmm.
Is there something going on, or can you tell me a bit more about that? What's your intention here? What is going on for you emotionally? It
But
shows
to
that
your
you're
point,
really
though,
paying
John, wait a
attention.
second, though. If they say, you know what, I don't really want to go there, what do you do in that moment? If they say, "Yep, you're picking up on something for sure, but I don't want to go there." What do you do in that moment as a coach?
Look, my temptation would be to say, well, we can either end the session here, or we can move forward in some way. How do we move forward? Like, I generally would say, look, if this isn't somewhere you want to go today, I hope we can go there any other time. If it's something that's bothering you, what then is going to be valuable to focus on instead? Like, what should we
Absolutely.
move on to?
Yeah.
because I want them to still get value from the session, but I'm not going to force them into revealing something that they're not ready to
No.
share yet.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and that's the point. The point is that's where you ask and verify, something's going on. Yeah. So, do we need to bring this in today? No, I don't want to. Okay. And again, I love your pivot. It's like, okay, so then and we could probably all ask the question, 10 different ways or more. So then what is most valuable then for today? Or what do you need? I think in that case, I'd then say, what do you need most then in this session? And there are times where somebody, did like have a death or something and they're crying, on and off. And I'm saying, this is not a productive session. If they want to talk about that, we can. But if we're going to try and pretend it's not bothering them and move on to business as usual, but they're not emotionally able to, then I, as a coach, I think have to take that moment and say, you know what, John? I think we should just call this today. I want to I want to honor you and as a human, give you time to process or whatever it is, lose a job. I think things that are external and give them that grace. I mean, not 45 minutes into a 60-minute session, but if you really can't navigate it and straighten that cart a little bit, 10 minutes in, sometimes you do have to just take that license and say, I think we'd be better served to wait and honor you, give you more time to process or whatever that is, feel better
Yeah.
or whatever's going on.
And I have done that before. I said, look, I don't think it's going to be valuable for us to have a call today, but I don't want you to miss out. So I would
Mhm.
prefer to reschedule this.
Yeah.
They can disagree, but then if they disagree, they have to make a move on their side. If they want to
Right.
have the session regardless, you then have put them in a situation where, okay,
Mhm.
well, if you want to have the session regardless, here's where we need to go.
Right. Let's
Now
get
we
to
can
work.
either deal with that. Either we deal with that and as you say, get to work, or we reschedule it. What would you like
Yeah.
to do?
Yeah.
So the ball's in their court the whole time, but I'm not going to force them. That's not what it's not what we're there to do.
No, that feels
Look,
very push off the cliff to me. Like I love poking and prodding and pulling and everything, and maybe the occasional nudge. But I think sometimes if we overstep and we don't really honor them, I mean, I think there's healthy times too. There are times where you kind of have to, I don't know, I'm referencing Top Gun, the original, like you crashed, you burned, there was a really bad outcome. It's something you have to get back up into the plane, right? You have to get up and start, live another day, fight another day.
yes.
And as a coach, sometimes we have to be able to understand so that we know when it's time to nudge them forward. But yeah, that feeling of being pushed over the cliff does not feel good to anybody. So we have to be
No.
careful of that.
You don't want to lose that loving feeling. That was my Top Gun reference. I think I- we talk about this, and yeah, these situations stand out, but they are few and far between in
Sure.
your general coaching work. In my
Mhm.
experience, probably yours as well. I,
Yeah.
I they do stand out though, but that's one of the reasons why they stand out. Is like the phrase sticking out like a sore thumb. It's like these stick out like sore thumbs
Hmm.
amongst all the other coaching sessions that you do because there's soreness there, because there is friction, challenge there that you don't have in your other sessions. One of the hardest challenges I think in coaching, people who come into coaching tend to be very empathetic. They tend to
Hmm.
be very tuned in to people on emotional levels. And I know we've mentioned this in episodes before, but there is that thing of you having to learn in coaching how to not take on the emotions of the clients who you work with
Oh yeah.
without shutting down your own emotional state. Like you still need to have access to your emotions, but it's that thing of like, the thing of like when somebody starts crying, if you're very empathic, you probably want to start crying. If they're getting emotional, it'll trigger you off. But we're not recording. You're not recording. When did we stop? When did that stop? Now you're recording.
Yeah. All right.
Did you
So
see
go
when
back.
that stopped?
Like right before I said it, I was like, wait, what just happened? So it was right when you were saying what you were saying. So go back.
So there's that thing with coaches of being highly empathetic,
Hmm.
but knowing really to be able to keep access to your own emotions, but having enough distance that you're not being pulled into the emotions of the client who you're working with. So that thing of, when somebody starts crying and you want to cry, because if you're empathic, it'll probably make you sad as well, and you might want to cry. And it might even happen, but you can't let yourself go down the hole with the client. But you
Sure.
what you but what but what you need to learn to do is hold the space for them if they need
Yeah.
to emotionally process that on the call. Let them know
Yeah.
it's okay. They can let this out. This is a safe space. Go ahead. But not to allow yourself to be pulled into that. Have empathy for them, but don't
Absolutely.
em- but don't empathize so much that you're feeling the emotion with them at the same
Well, then you're
time.
no longer empathizing, you're sympathizing. It changes right
Right.
then and there.
Exactly.
And I'm not going to say that I had a client, a long-term client that referenced his mom for years, and he's still a client actually. And she passed. And it was like I almost felt like I knew her. Of course I didn't, right? But I felt like I knew her because he talked about her and relationships. It was part of the coaching. And then she was gone. And it was somehow I have to say I'm admitting there was a moment of feeling that feeling. It wasn't empathy. And I had to check myself, and because I got a little like choked up. And of course, quick, right? You have to, you're still human first, but then you have to quickly adjust and realign yourself to, maybe it is slowing down the rate of speech, speaking a little more softly, which we all know is not my forte, but really being able, I'm poking fun at myself, but really then just genuinely being able to give them like, like you're saying, John, like hold the space. Don't rush them out of it. Like, well, okay, well, how do we make you feel better today now that your mom passed away? That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to be able to manage and navigate that expertly. Is that a word?
Yeah.
Um,
And this is where I think as coaches we end up having to rely on what we've been trained in. And
hmm
you'll fall back to what you've been trained with, but that's what you want to go to. Go to what you've been trained with. Allow yourself to take that step back and be there. Be an emotional support and rock for them, but don't be in the emotion with them. And that's much more powerful for them, and it gives them something to hold on to with you as well. That
yeah,
if you're holding the space for them too, they know that they can go wherever they need to emotionally, even if that is being incredibly vulnerable and emotional on the call with you. And that's actually a healthy thing with your clients, and it's not going to happen all the time, but it is going to
sure.
deepen the coaching. It is going to deepen the coaching relationship from doing that. I think it's valuable, but in terms of the energy that we show up with in the calls, I do think I aim for what similar thing I aim for on stage. I aim for showing up with warmth and competence. Those are two of the main things that I want to have come across to people. That I'm going to be warm. I care about you. I want you. I want the best for you, but I'm also competent in what I do, and I'm going to keep things moving along, and
Sure.
we're gonna get done what we need to get done in the session. But there are other elements that I want to make sure that I bring into those sessions as well. And I very much want clients to feel the space is being held for them. This is their special time. They can be heard. They can say what they want. It's not nothing's going to get leaked out of that conversation unless
Right.
they want to share it with someone else. I think these are important aspects of it, but how we then show up in that, what other elements go with that, that's going to be what you adapt with or how you adapt to the clients you work with in each session.
Yeah, I think maintaining the composure, maintaining the space of how can I be of support? How can I give them, right? Or lead them to how can I? Even if they are in a tough moment, or even if it's not like, a sad thing, if it's just energetically, right? Just they're maybe they're just having a bad day, an off day. And I think, for me it has been asking, how can I be of support for you today? What do you need most from this session? And I push that personalization away a little bit, because it's not, "What do you need from me?" It's, how can I be of support?" And then kind of piggybacking that to a movement forward, I guess you could say. So I think meeting them and navigating, and we really have to. You said something earlier, and it really it resonated because it is a skill set. Being able to navigate people's emotions around the challenge, I think, is one of the hardest things that we do as coaches. Right? We can be curious and ask the right questions, but navigating each person as an individual and understanding their needs and their blind spots and whatever that is, navigating that
In
can be very challenging for us.
Yeah. In my earlier days in coaching, I definitely used to feel I took on a lot from the client's
Yeah,
emotional situations on the calls, and ended up doing a sort of sort of an emotional clearing ritual between each session,
I do. I do.
just so I could shake stuff off. I don't worry so much about that now because it seems to just happen more naturally, and I don't have to mentally process it. It just happens now.
Yeah.
But that again, that's the stuff that you trade in, and you may find that you need to do that, or you need to give yourself a little bit of emotional defense in your that how do you put up that shield for yourself to give yourself the ability to take a step back sometimes and be the observing participant rather than the involved participant, because that is you do need to have that level of detachment to be effective as a coach. But the empathy thing is very, very powerful so long as it doesn't pull you into it too much. It makes you a very powerful coach, very effective coach. Yeah. Some coaches lean on process more, some coaches lean on
Yeah.
empathy and intuition more.
Yeah.
But both are important. We need both aspects. So if we're weaker in one than the other, we should work on the other. But we need both. We need the process as well. We need to make sure that the client gets what they need to,
Yeah.
because that's what we're there for at the end of the day.
Agreed. I'm with you. I agree. Great session.
Cool. I hope it's been valuable for our listener. We'd love to know your thoughts. So, we'll share we'll tell you in just a moment how you can share your thoughts and ideas with them, or if there's a topic that you'd like us to discuss on the show, how you can get in touch.
Love that. Do you have a question for the coaching clinic?
Reach out on LinkedIn to connect with Angie and John.
Leave us a voicemail or video message and we will feature you on the show.
You can also leave up to 90-second voicemail for free on www.speakpipe.com/the Coaching Clinic podcast.
We'd love to hear from you.
See you next time.
Bye for now.